Special report, Tallahassee, Florida, in what one critic described as an ongoing campaign to make Florida uninhabitable and unsafe for transgender individuals. Governor Ron DeSantis' administration secretly overturned a program that allowed Floridians to acquire driver's licenses that reflected their gender identification. Deputy Executive Director of the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles, Robert Kynoch, informed county tax collectors who processed driver's licenses and state identification cards of the changes in a memo dated Friday. Permitting individuals to alter their gender on licenses and identification cards violates state law, according to the memorandum, because gender has traditionally been equated with sex, which is established by inherent and unchangeable biological and genetic attributes. Kynoch further stated that a driver's license functions as an identification document and in that capacity plays a vital role in aiding public and private organizations in accurately verifying the identity of the individual presenting the license. Enabling an individual to modify their license in order to conform to a subjective and fungible internal perception of gender identity or role undermines the fundamental function of an identification record and could hinder the enforcement of state policies, he further stated. In addition, the memorandum cautioned that falsely representing one's gender, which is defined as sex, on a driver's license is fraudulent and carries criminal and civil penalties, including license cancellation, suspension, or revocation. Lila, a trans woman undergoing her transition who is 19 years old, told NBC6 that in order to obtain a driver's license that accurately depicts her name and gender identity, she would have to travel to a different state. It makes me feel frustrated that the place that I was raised no longer accepts people like me, according to her. In 2018, the state agency implemented a policy permitting individuals to modify the genetic markers on licenses through the submission of court orders, signed statements from doctors, or proof of gender change. A portion of the policy mandated that employees address individuals requesting such modifications with respect. The procedure was expanded in 2021 to permit confirmation from advanced practice registered nurses regarding the gender changes. The agency, according to the memo by Kynoch, revoked the policy because its provisions are not supported by statutory authority. Here I am, the big scary trans person. Do you truly think I'm a threat to society? Is the ongoing culture conflict truly valuable? Lila stated. The DeSantis administration's changes don't seem to have an impact on transgender people whose licenses have already undergone modification, according to Southern Legal Counsel attorney Simone Chris, who helped draft the 2018 policy. This letter was just issued and there's a lot of ambiguity and a lot of questions that we'll need answers on, but based on the statutes they've cited and the authority they've provided, there's no reason for individuals who currently have a driver's license or identification card that reflects their gender identity to be concerned about driving, going to appointments, or using their ID in the traditional manner they do every day, because there's no mechanism by which the DHSMV, Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles, or the police have any authority to suspend or revoke their license, she said. When asked about the new policy, agency spokeswoman Molly Best stated in an email that Department Director Dave Kerner began reviewing the agency's technical guidance advisories after being appointed to the position by DeSantis a year ago. According to Best, the gender change only applies to replacement license requests. Adjusting the department's jurisdiction to permit replacement licenses based on an individual's self-identified gender or sex is illegal and does not contribute to the improvement of the security and dependability of licenses and identification cards issued by the state of Florida. Priority is given to the security, dependability, and precision of government-issued credentials, Best stated. State lawmakers are contemplating legislation that would amend the Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles' use of gender on licenses at the time the agency reversed its policy. A bill, HB 1639, was approved by the House Select Committee on Health Innovation last week. This legislation would mandate that credentials indicate an individual's sex by considering their sex chromosomes, naturally occurring sex hormones, and internal and external genitalia present at birth. Additionally, obligations would be placed on insurers who provide coverage for gender-affirming care under the proposed legislation. In recent years, several Republican-controlled states, including Florida, have implemented a range of measures that specifically target transgender individuals and the LGBTQ community at large. Transgender individuals and allies condemned the DeSantis administration memo regarding driver's licenses on Tuesday. It was first reported on social media by independent journalist Erin Reed on Monday evening. Critics stated that when taken together, these actions amount to an attempt to legislate or regulate trans people out of existence. Transgender individuals have been documented to have existed across all continents and cultures throughout the annals of time. The purpose of these policies is to completely exclude members of the transgender community from public life in Florida and to make them feel insecure and unwelcome. This irresponsible policy change serves no purpose, as it attempts to deny tens of thousands of Floridians legal status and was executed without any public input or notification to maximize disruption, said Carlos Guillermo Smith, a senior policy analyst for the LGBTQ advocacy organization Equality Florida and a former member of the State House. Smith, a Democratic candidate for a Senate seat in Central Florida this year, described the altercation as a devastating development and stated that his organization is collaborating with national partners and legal organizations to determine our retaliatory options. Chris stated that the modification to the driver's license is an ongoing effort to render Florida uninhabitable and hazardous for transgender people. Chris is one of the attorneys advocating for the plaintiffs in a federal lawsuit that contests the state's prohibition on the treatment of transgender juveniles diagnosed with gender dysphoria through surgery, hormone replacement therapy, or puberty blockers. Additionally, the legislation introduced barriers for transgender adults seeking medical attention in Florida. In December, a federal court heard arguments in the lawsuit, but has yet to rule. The Florida Republican obsession with trans people must end, Nikki Fried, chairman of the FDP, said in a statement. Rather than confronting our escalating property insurance crisis or unmanageable rent increases, the Republican Party persists in implementing conspicuously transphobic policies to advance their fabricated cultural conflicts. The eradication and criminalization of transgender individuals is abhorrent and must stop. Follow us for more news.